Welcome to the Jackson Heights Cobra Cast and the Coach Wick Show. The Cobras advance in the playoffs after defeating Southeast Cherokee Lancers last week 58-0. The Cobras have another big game this week, looking for a deep playoff run. Coach, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Let's start off by talking about last week's game against Southeast Cherokee. The Cobras dominated from start to finish. What were your impressions of the game?
You know, I thought we came out there in the first half and took care of business and did what we needed to do. Varsity scored a touchdown, had a pick. I thought the offense executed up to par, but honestly, it was the defense, there in the first half with our varsity playing. Majority of the snaps, I think Southeast Cherokee had negative 66 yards of total offense in the first half and ended up with negative 33 yards for the game. So that's exceptional for the defense. And, JV got to go in there in the second half and score a touchdown, and I thought they ran good offense as well. So it was overall a good game for us. So just taking it one step, one game at a time. So we're ready for this week.
So speaking of our JV, the varsity defense left the game at the end of the third quarter, and the varsity offense left the game at the end of the first half, up 50-0. Our JV was able to go in there, score a touchdown, and hold the Lancers. What does this show about the future of our team?
It just shows that we're getting better each and every week, especially on that JV side of the football, and that just comes from, practice. They're going up against arguably one of the better offenses and better defenses in the state right now, so there's nothing to do but get better in practice. And during the course of the year, from game 1 to game 4, I think the JV got really, really good, a lot better than they did at the beginning of the year. I wish we would have played Riverside again at the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year, because I think that would have been a different result as well. And really, we're just as good as our JV, because they're the ones that give us looks there in the course of practice, and they're the unsung heroes of the team because they don't get a lot of recognition, but they come in and day out and work as hard as they can in practice to make our varsity better.
So this week we prepare for a much more familiar face in the playoffs as we take on Olpe. So what is your preparation this week going to look like going for Olpe?
It's just the same preparation that we do each and every week. And, dealing with Olpe, we played them 3 or 4 years ago, and we played them twice during the course of their runs where they won back-to-back state titles. So we had 2 losses to them in those years. So we've had 4 losses. I think I'm 0-5 or 0-6 against them in my career. So it's one of those things that we're going to go in there and we're going to play our best football. And Olpe's a great coach team. They do a lot of the fundamentals right, and they do a lot of different formations that we got to, get accustomed to. But it's something that, during the course of the league schedule we've seen most everything that everybody's going to run against us. There's a little tweaks here and there. But overall, I think Olpe's going to be a very, very good test for us. They're a great football team, and we'll have to have our, I's dotted and our T's crossed for the game on Friday.
So as we mentioned here just briefly, Olpe is historically been known as a good athletic program with winning, like you said, back-to-back state football championships, also some in basketball too. What would it mean for our team, for you, to get a win over a team like this?
It's just a step in the right direction. We beat a good Riverside team this year. We competed with a great Rossville team last year. It's just a step for the program, just a win for the program, a win that can put Jackson Heights more on the map. Like you said, Olpe's been a perennial power, winning those back-to-back state titles in football and then winning a basketball state title last year and probably the odds-on favorite to win it again this year in the 1A level when dealing with basketball. But they're just a great program. They're a program that you want to emulate, and you want your program to be like just a consistent winner, a consistent playoff contender, and making consistent deep runs into the playoffs. So it would be a good program win for us. But like I said, we're just trying to take a 1-0 mentality, really working on ourselves this week, and just going into the game looking to execute and get better.
So now going on to you personally, we've mentioned this on the show before, but Coach, you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and with a good win over this weekend over the current number 1 team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, how do you think the Steelers will win out the division? I mean, you got the Bengals, Ravens, Browns. I mean, those are some pretty decent teams there.
Yeah, so we look at really the Ravens would be the top competitor, but actually this week the defense showed up for the Steelers. I think they had 5 or 6 takeaways, and Aaron Rodgers, dink and dunking all the way down the field. Our vertical passing game has to get better. Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball down the field, and we got DJ Metcalf, which we haven't really used, I think, to his potential going into this year. We have some pretty good, decent running backs with Warren. But honestly, the defense just has to play better. I think when you got the Bengals in there, that with a backup quarterback, you got the Browns in there with a backup quarterback, and, Joe Flacco went to the Cincinnati and then came out and beat Pittsburgh. So it's one of those things where any given week and on Sunday night or Sunday football, you have to bring your A game. And they're the odds-on favorite right now to win the division, but there's a lot of football left to be played, and they have some good competition coming up for sure. But when you look at their losses, especially the Seahawks loss, they're playing great football right now. And really, I'll go back to it. It's just the steel curtain. We have to be ready for defense. Our defense has to pick up. J.J. Watt has to go out there. The linebackers have to play well. The secondary has to play better coverage. I think the secondary is playing a little loose right now for them, but I know Mike Tomlin will get them, prepared and ready to go. And, Steeler Nation, let's go.
So Jackson Heights Cobras will take on the Olpe Eagles this week at home in the regional round of the 1A playoffs. If you can, please come out and come and support. The kickoff will be at 7 p.m. Coach, good luck, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys, as always.